You can hear the testing of everything in the background. Starting November, we are simplifying ad. Okay, I don't care about that. YouTube's. Start the stream on TradingView. What's up, Rex? You doing good, homie? All right, man. Yeah. Okay, so we're up on TradingView. We up on the YouTubes. Let's change the thumbnail there, man. Let's do this one. There we go. Save. Well, welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great trading day. So far, we've been trading good. We're up roughly, right now in this trade, we're up about 29K. We're looking for the RDA test on chart 3, or chart 1. Sorry, chart 1 is our control. Chart 1 is our control. Make sure the audio is coming through. So chart 3. Whoa. Okay. Should change the actual sound over to open sound settings. Make this be there. All right. Or chart 1. All right. Everybody, I will share stream. I almost want to take some profit off here. Just don't like what it's doing. Where's my... So we got some good topics here for the actual podcast. Thanks everybody that has added to that. I'm not trading anything else yet. I'm on another trade. Oil is maybe topping out here in a double top there on chart 3. So I might be trading that here shortly. X. What do you think, Rex? Should we take some profit there? So I'm just looking to see what the next level is there. I don't know. We'll see. We are live. Welcome all. Okay there. That was loud. All right. I don't know. I should have took some profit there maybe. We're at the pivot. See if I'll regret it. Chart 4 is also playing into a mighty warrior of God. Mighty warrior of God. Welcome on TradingView. I should have took some profit there, man. Let's see what we're going to do here. If it gives up the level of 349, I might just reverse the whole position. But we'll give it a little bit of room here. So we'll see. So for those that are new, maybe on YouTube or on TradingView, one of the best things you can do is follow us on Discord. You'll see a link down below. Oh, I'll add. I'm now on Discord live too, in the trade room. Hey everybody, how you doing? By the way, I'm streaming, so if you say anything, you're going to be on the stream. But feel free to say whatever you want. Conspiracy theories and all. Oh, Mighty Warrior God, I'm an alpha member, only changed my name. Well, great to have you on TradingView. Thanks for following along. We are considering maybe doing the price increase here, either the end of this week or this week for becoming an alpha. For years, we've been priced at $9.97, but I think it's time for us to start upping the price to the value that's actually never going to meet the value of the amount of time and effort that we spend actually here or within the group. Not that I'm complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I'm just saying that the amount of time comparatively, if you were to look at it from an ROI, does not even match the amount of time and effort we put in. I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm pouring some Powerade. So thanks everybody for sharing the topics on some of the new shows. We'll, if you have any more, go to the general section of Discord. Now, right now, I'm just looking at there's two trades on my radar right now. There is number one, we're in the NQ already. I'm considering maybe a gold sell-off here on right around 1944 spot 6, or CL, we're maybe at a double top on chart 3. So I'm watching that closely. We haven't quite switched over yet, but probably the best entry is right around here, right around 80. One of the things that gold's on a tear. I mean, gold, you're fading that, that's a short-term fade. So if you're going to fade CL, you got to realize that that's probably a short-term fade and take your profits quick. All right, I'm going to move up. I'm going to start managing some of this position here on the NQ. We're in 50 lots. We're up about 27K. Let's start putting some trailing stops up in the market just because, look, I've given an opportunity. I'm going to take some off there.
Order filled.
Given an opportunity to move. Took some profit there from that trade. It stalled. We're at the pivot, first afternoon pivot. Everybody in the room can hear me okay, right? Anybody?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
sweet.
yes. Clear.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you for streaming.
Yeah. So to me, it looks like the afternoon is going to go and at least test the OR50 and the NQ. I'm talking MNQ, NQ, and probably the RDA. If we look at the internals support maybe close above the, I don't know about a zero line test, but at least this level test, if you look at the up volume, down volume, as well as maybe a VWAP test on big tech. That's what it looks like, but it's not, it's ranging like it's been a good part of the day here various times. So once again, as usual, it's about your entries, playing the extremes, and then being patient. It's really played around here in chart 1, right around the momentum. This is, once it captured here and kind of stayed at this level, your next focus is, okay, the RDA, and which aligns with the R50. So it's really simple to read what the NQ is trying to do. And then obviously the pullback, if you look at chart 4, it's very clear that the level is 311 spot 25. That's the downside level. That's actually the trade on the table too. If it does break and take us out here on the NQ, and probably going long right around that 310 level is probably the next trade on the table, calling the bluff that it's going to sell off more, which if you look at the daily on the NQ, aligns with the fast momentum. So we're trading the higher time frame as well as trading what the day is unfolding. Look at that CL sell-off. I didn't even get part of that trade. That makes me mad. I was too aggressive on that entry. Oh, I need to roll forward here, the red treasury bonds. Yeah, look at that. I wasn't aggressive enough on that entry on CL. Plus, I need to be entering more than 3 lots. All right, let's see if we can get picked up on a pullback here. Pullback and a bluff that it's going to actually close above that level at 87 spot 89 on CL.
Stop filled.
What? Oh, I got stopped out. Let me pull that noise down. Let's go to the audio. Volume mixer. Let's bring down trade 08. Dynamite. It is. I haven't really changed it since, at least I believe it is. Let me check.
It is. I just didn't know if there was any information that needed change.
Yeah. Well, the view. Yeah, view and read message history there. So I think that's all that needs to be there. Oh, look at this. It's being stubborn. You know, it's really not overshooting the momentum on chart 2.
Order filled.
They get picked up there on CL, so we're starting to get picked up. I need to roll this forward. So what would be ZB's next contract? ZBU. And is this ZBU? It is ZBU. Reach Jason here has a, I'd love to see how to chart multiple markets, the best screen setup. I'm struggling there wanting to trade multiple
Order
markets,
filled.
but switching symbols sometimes changes start
Order
scaling.
filled.
Yeah, so, you know, when you say multiple markets, do you mean multiple tickers? Oh, I'll ask the question here too. I've mentioned this already. There's only really 4 time frames of trading that exist. There is day trading, which you see primarily here is on the stream that we do. There is 2 types of swing trades, short and long term, and then there's portfolio trades. The only additional trade that you will do is hedging on either one of those. So you can hedge your day trading by.
Order filled.
I don't talk about it because I just don't think it's necessary for most people. But for instance, hedging will play a role in, let's say you're doing a long-term swing trade. A long-term swing trade means that you're typically going to stick with that trade over a year. It's anywhere from a year to 3 years. A portfolio trade is something that you probably want to hand down to your children. Like you'd always want to own it. Like, and you're going to put it in your portfolio. It's usually sometimes it's dividend paying, but it's a stalwart of your actual portfolio.
Order filled.
It's a stalwart of your wealth, and you probably would even use that holding as something to borrow against to maybe live off of, buy other assets, put your money to work. That's really what you're using your portfolio trade to do. But that's where you're doing some hedging. So obviously, if you're, let's say that you're long a bunch of gold stocks, well, you could potentially, let's say that you're long gold stocks because you see the next 3 years, you know, that gold is going to increase. So gold stocks are going to increase, for instance. That's your long-term outlook for a swing trade. Well, let's say in the next 6 months, you see the Fed doing what it's doing. And you're saying, well, in the short term, it looks like there's actually going to be a pullback, which is an opportunity for you to maybe acquire more gold stocks. But also, you would look and say, well, how do I hedge my overall position here? Do I get into a gold stock ETF that's short, a triple short? Do I do options? You know, that's advanced trading. We'll get to that eventually. My goal here is, now that my nephew's hanging out and we're in one place, is that I want to have I want all the trading that I do, the philosophy, my knowledge, I want to then put into the library that is the Rexdog trading website. So that's the goal of what we're focusing on here, as well as get Epic indicators launched, start focusing on Sierra chart a little bit more, building some cool tools there. And we have a couple other things we're working on. So we missed the trade on gold, GC. There is possibly a trade right now for a fade trade at 1940. So we'll enter 6 lots there, see if we get picked up. 1940 spot 1 is where we're entering on gold. We'll see if we get picked up there. That is a fade trade. You can see it's near that low as well. We might be knocked out here of our NQ trade we already took some profit. We are in 5 lots of the CL looking for a sell-off there for a short term. It could be you got the overextension there, you got that double top there in C3. That's kind of what we're trading. That's the thesis for the trade, not kind of, that's what we're trading. For those that are new and you're new on TradingView or you're new, definitely you can ask questions on TradingView. Ask questions is very much a kind of collaborative ask questions, but you'll see down below it says join my Discord. You want to join there. That's the best place. If you're watching somewhere else, you'll see in the description a place to join the Discord.
Stop-filled.
You want to do that. Mighty Warrior of God said, here is what I see. Hey, wait, I can actually use this to change my voice. I can. Is there a God voice on here? This is lame. Yeah, I can change my voice.
Oh, I can disguise my voice.
Here's what I see. Correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking. NQ hit the daily low, so we're expecting price to hit the next 1 hour level, which would be 15,375 on the 60-minute and RDA, or 5-minute. If we closed under 24.9 right now, we would expect, yeah, that's a good thesis. What you have here is a good thesis for the trade. I think, what we're seeing is if you were in the trade room earlier today, before we started streaming, we talked about how the daily was testing the fast momentum. I think that's still in play right now. Right now, chart 1 would be my control for this trade. And chart 1 looks like it's setting up for the RDA check up above, right around, and the OR 50, right around 384 spot 25. So I don't know. I don't have conviction yet. I think what we'll do is we'll wait for it to come up here. We are hitting the half-hour mark here, so we do expect a little bit of volatility here. And I don't know if I want to add to this trade quite yet. I guess we do. We'll see if we get picked up on a pullback there. Probably missed the best move there, but we'll see. See if we get picked back on a pullback to test a momentum and bias as it goes up and checks the RDA and chart 1 as our control. Yeah, you should try talking so I can hear you. Do you have your mic set up?
Yeah, I'm trying to set it up right now.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
You should be able to see your voice move or on there. Okay, CL, we are in 5 lots. In profit there. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple ways to reach Jason. I think that's probably a good article or a podcast show is how to trade multiple tickers using the 4-chart setup. It will depend on obviously the amount of, oh man, CL's starting to move. Wish I was heavier there. Only got $1,400 on that. Put in some trailing stops in the market. Only 5 lots there. Where is it going? Well, we got the RDA right around 87.33. That's the first profit zone. So right here
Order
is our
filled.
profit zone. What do we get picked up on? Oh, wait. No, I don't know what that was. Well, maybe that was yours.
You heard order fill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mine.
I have to look at the limiter here and see if I can reduce the sound here. Reduce the background noise.
I'm gonna turn off my noises.
Okay, that's a little bit better. I think, at least from this angle. It might not be good for the podcast, but I think it'll be good for doing live streams. I need to take out that little bit. Yeah, I didn't get picked back up. We'll see if we get picked back up on this pullback here on the NQ. Guess not. I will put some trailing stops in the market for protective stops on the NQ.
I'm short for the MNQ. Scaling into the RDA.
What RDA?
Chart 1.
It's not even near that. Well, maybe the MNQ is there, but I
No,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying. MNQ.
I
We'll see if
had
it breaks here at
388.
this the previous strong level on chart 1. See if that breaks. If so, then I'll just get out and go above the RDA. For days like this, since I had a pretty intense morning, are we supposed to expect any type of movement in the afternoon?
I don't know if I would say expect an event. I think it's all the story of the chart. It's more, the low has been protected so far. There's been a level created on chart 3.
What gives you confirmation that the low could get tested again?
What do you mean confirmation that the low is going to get tested again?
Like say like the short side rejects that momentum on chart 3. If it gets up to the fast momentum indicator, if it rejects there, is that pretty good confirmation that it could go back down to test the low side?
Oh yeah, I mean
Because that's usually what I see with these types of days is the exhaustive move, and then really there's no recovery from the buy side. Even though I'm not really thinking like that, I can switch if there is, but when there's so much, I don't know the exact word, but I would say powder or contracts that go into the morning that make that huge move. Going into the afternoon, since I trade so much the afternoon, I didn't really get to trade the mornings. I saw a lot of the morning was kind of respected by the afternoon session. But I don't know if that's always true. That's just what I see for like these big impulse days. I don't know if you agree or not.
yeah, I wouldn't. What the heck? Hold on. I wouldn't really explain it that way because it's all really about the chart. So you could look at it that way, but more of where's price trying to go? It's on C3. It's trying to go to 405, which is the fast momentum indicator there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm seeing it more as whereas price is not getting. is full confirmation. Like the buy side for me today has it has stepped up in 0 spots. So price is telling me like I think it wants to go lower. I think all of these moves are just kind of rechecks of momentum before another push down.
Yeah, but they're only rechecks of momentum of chart 3.
I know that's such a strong, because usually chart 3's strong levels, or not even strong, their momentum indicators on chart 3 are most likely around an area where there's a strong level or a high reaction area on the other charts, because it's all calculation, right? That's how I usually see it. Usually if there's a correlation between momentum, it's on like the second deviation, which I use heavily, or it's above momentum or bias on chart 1, which can give me a further, I don't know. I'm just talking.
Yeah, I don't really understand what you're trying to say. Other
I'm
than
trying to ask you questions.
yeah, but I mean, it's pretty cut and dry to me. It's trying to get to the fast momentum on chart 3. And it's regardless of whether or not what it did this morning or not. You know, if this chart setup was an afternoon or any time of the day or anything, you'd be trading it the same way regardless of what transpired in the morning. Or if chart 3 is your control, then it's far enough away from the RDA and the momentum indicators that you would expect a check-in with momentum and bias. And then when you go and correlate it to what's happened on chart 4 and chart 2 and even chart 1, that supports the thesis. You know, now for instance, but you could get there 6 different ways. I mean, 2 different ways. I mean, you could look at chart 1 and say, well, chart 1 was supporting the fact that it was consolidating, closing above momentum, and the most logical, which it already hit, which was, we already called it, which is 387, right at the RDA and the opening range 50. And now this is the reaction of the opening range 50. And it's going to go back and test it, and it's either going to do one or two things. It's going to break through it and probably hit, or chart 3 will go and decide whether or not it wants to overshoot that fast momentum and sell off, or it's going to just keep going and go up to like the next level, which is 436 or 452.
Okay.
So Mighty Warrior asked, could you explain why we're not convinced that the NQ on the 5-minute would go down? Is it because of the daily level? Well, no, I mean, I'm not convinced yet that it's not going to go down from the RDA yet. So where's the next logical step? We got the VWAP up above, and then if you look at that, so I'm not convinced that it's not going to just roll over here for the rest of the afternoon and sell off. But if you look at the story of the chart so far, the lows have been protected a little bit. And you really have a value range here. If we just look at this whole chart on the 5-minute here, you've got a whole value range that's developed here. So a solid close below this, like below 347, invalidates everything that's here. But until we get a solid close there, the story of the chart is really saying, hey, it has some kind of upside target. That's the way I read it anyways right now. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I was really asking too. Or where? CL didn't reach our target. Let's see if we get knocked out of that trade or it gets to our target. Our first target is 87 spot 37. Once again, it's a super fade trade.
So I'm looking at the Trading View chat. I didn't know they had a chat.
Yep. That's where I was answering questions.
No, I mean like public chat.
Uh-huh. You mean chat on the stream or some other chat?
No, like Trading View has like its
Yeah, it has its own message system. Yeah.
like public chat room. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can go into Minds and you can talk with people that are looking at charts. I don't know. I went in there and I recorded that session and put it in the den once. I went in there and jumped into the gold room one night and totally contradicted every trader that was in there. And I'm not being arrogant. I was just right because I was just trading the system. But no, they were stuck on this. I remember it distinctly. They were stuck in this gap. And every trader in there is like, oh, it's going to fill the gap. I'm like, I guess, but my system says that it's not going to fill the gap. And I was just calling levels and it just kept hitting every level. So by the, this is actually in the den, I think. By the end of that 45-minute session, people started asking, how are you doing this? I said, well, I'm just trading level to level and trading momentum. That's all I'm really doing. I wasn't doing anything special.
Just using the system.
You have a mute on that or a gain on that?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's okay for a USB mic. It's just you're going to have to get one that you can control a little bit more. Just get used to muting it when you're not using it.
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Because it picks up way too much background noise. So there is no we. So, mighty warrior of God, I'll answer this question. Like, here's the thing. This is probably going to frustrate most people because there's 3 different ways to get to what's happening on the charts right now, or 4 or 5 probably. And so when you say, so we are looking at the RDA from 5-minute right now. Now, we can talk about specific charts and say, okay, what's the philosophy and what's our theory and how do we trade this? But it's just as valid for someone to say, look, I'm using the chart 3 as my control. And chart 3 has a level that's been established and has a series of levels that have been established that I can trade against. And chart 3 is telling me that the target is 403. Or like 405. That's what chart 3 is telling me. So chart 3 is my control. So that's what I'm trading off of. Now you can also use chart 4 as your control and say chart 4 is telling me that 393 spot 75 is a level. And that's my control, as well as it's messing around with the RDA right now. You could also use chart 1 and say, look, it's the first test of the RDA of the day since the big sell-off. First test is usually the best, so you probably should be shorting this move, which I probably might do as it approaches this. But when you do correlate it to the other actual like charts, you'll say, well, there's a risk there because chart 3 is telling me that 405 is the level. Are you muted or not?
I'm not muted.
Oh yeah, just mute it. Sorry. Because I do mute.
I mean, it has been a while. Yeah, you put out a good song. I saw it, or I don't recognize it. Jack was trying to like drive to her house and stuff. But from the street, I went up to her and give her.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad it makes sense. So, now we're just waiting to see, is the RDA going to break?
Order filled.
Added another day in queue. Did not get picked up on the gold or GC. I'll leave that entry there. We're about to hit the last hour of the market here in about 15 minutes. How's everybody else's trading going? Look like that. It's going to break through. So we're looking for a short right around 406, maybe a little bit higher, 413. If it really gets going, it's 434. So it's really between that 412 and 434 area, which is probably where I'd be looking to short the NQ. Could buy this pullback if you think that there's now once again you're fighting the momentum or the bias on chart 4 and you're fighting the bias on chart 1. So the trade that actually exists from a momentum side is to be shorting this move right here, but you should be predictive in your shortage. You should also be looking at chart 3 and just reason out. Look, is chart 3 going to just stop where it's at? Or is chart 3 going to actually go up and actually, at least at a minimum, hit the fast momentum? That's what you should be asking yourself here. I mean, this is why when you look at the current setup, 2 charts are telling you, hey, this is the zone I should be shorting, but the larger time frame of chart 3 is telling you, hey, I still have some work to do to where I want to go. So this candle on chart 3 is going to close in 12 minutes. So projecting where that's going to close and then thinking, okay, once that closes, what is it going to be the immediate follow through for the next candle? Is it going to continue the momentum of the movement up? Or is it going to pull back into the previous candle, find a level of support that's supported within the other timeframes that we use within our system? Chart 2, chart 4, or maybe even chart 1. For those that are wondering, we trade what's called the 4-chart setup. It's a combination of time and tick charts. TradingView does not have tick charts. They say they are adding it soon, according to a Reddit post. I don't know what their definition of soon is. Could be 10 years. But hopefully they add tick charts soon. They actually said too, they're asking options and tick charts would be interesting. But we use a combination of time and tick charts. It really is a superpower in trading because it allows you to take time out as a factor. When you understand how to do that, you really become powerful as a trader.
That was pretty kind of clicked with me what you just said there. Like this candle is not gonna just stop here and not go anywhere. So I am short here, but I'm probably gonna pull out just because I do believe it does want to probably go up a little bit further before it continues to go short. But I'm still on the short side because that's momentum.
That makes sense. The other thing to look at too is, shorting here, does it support our scale and ratio up to the next level that chart 3 is telling you? And it probably doesn't. So that's a little bit beyond the scale and ratio you'd like to go. So you're better off being a little bit less aggressive, because what you can do too, if it continues to fail here on chart 4 and chart 1 at the RDA, well, once it turns over and flips over on chart 2, you can go with the trade then. You can short again. You can get back into the trade. So I look at it from a risk perspective. It's riskier now to short it here, given that the daily has implied that it wants to hold the fast momentum and chart 3 hasn't completed its upward target, even though from a chart 1 and a chart 4 perspective, this is the best momentum bias trade to do. It's actually, if you really break it down though, this is where you get good. This is where, see, I see this naturally and I don't mention it. And I think people don't realize that I don't mention it and don't realize that it does play in a factor. Anybody in the room, and I'd love for someone to speak up besides the nephew elite, but I want you to look at what is, let's start with chart 1, 5-minute chart. What does momentum tell you? What does bias tell you? And then look at chart 4, and it's a mirror image of what chart 1's telling you. And if you look at that, really what it's telling you is that, hey, momentum is long, price momentum is long, bias is short, and price bias is short. So what's happening on those two charts, which are mirroring each other right now on the NQ, is there is a price between momentum and bias. And momentum might win out. And how would you know that? You would know that because what will happen is that price will come back and check the momentum indicators and hold the momentum indicators. Or price will pull back and maybe not hold the momentum indicators, but momentum will not shift on the indicators. And then price will hold a level low and then continue back up. See, one of the things anybody that's adopting the system, when you get good at reading the system through momentum and bias and the indicators, and then price on top of that, what price is doing in relation to momentum and bias, you're getting out of tunnel vision and you're reading exactly what the momentum of the market is happening, and you really are, you're getting, when you use these indicators and you read it how I just described here in the last 2 or 3 minutes, you're inherently getting out of tunnel vision and you're looking at the market from multi dimensions based on what the market, the chart. Remember, we're just straight up chart traders. We don't trade anything but the chart. And when you look at the market from the way I just described consistently, you are getting a view of what the charts are telling you from a multi-dimensional aspect instead of getting stuck in tunnel vision. So that's one reason why it's important when you're developing a trade system, and for those that are trading our system, you already have a foundation that doesn't change. If you're going to build a trade system from the ground up, you want to come up with a couple of indicators that don't change and be very stringent about the ones that you do change, because you want to be trading that same system day in and day out, because then you're going to start understanding the patterns around that trade system. You're going to understand how the market trades around that trade system and those indicators, and you're going to understand what is reliable, what is predictive. The market is very predictive. That how you predict the market, though, is that you use indicators to give you a edge up to recognize patterns in the market that then you can then predict. I'm thoroughly convinced that that's basically my secret of how I trade, which is I've just reverse engineered that.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say that it was very useful what you just said about the changeover, the combining of the charts. I know it's nothing really new for most alphas, but yeah. Specifically, the changeover patterns are tricky, but exactly what you just described happens often, and it's your momentum long, but your bias short, and now it's a question of which one's going to win. And it goes usually when market turns around, there is a fight there between the two, right?
Exactly. Yeah. When you're really, we're seeing a changeover pattern this is in our pattern library within the training, but we're seeing the changeover pattern unfold in real time right now. And the power here is you can make money on both sides of this trade. You could be long like I am, or you could be shorting the extreme of the move. You just got to be taking your profits quick, because if you are shorting this move, you're being told time and time again on chart 2 that, hey, momentum and bias is holding up on the fastest time frame that we have. Really, chart 2 is the way to look at chart 2 is it's our entry chart, but it's capital can't hide on that chart. So it's not based on time. It's actually based on capital flow of the market. But now we're actually getting some pullback to maybe the RDA on chart 2. But what it's telling you time and time again is that unless you're not taking profits quick, it doesn't appear that the big move is going to happen because it's stalling at every momentum area. But now it's starting to give it up. So now it's literally on chart 2 if you're watching it here unfold. It's at the RDA on chart 2. This is a good area where if you're not in the long trade and you see...
Yeah, I was going to say you can probably go long here given that you have M9 and RDA on C2.
Order filled.
Yeah, precisely. And so I'm adding to the position here with the expectation that now, where would I be wrong? This is where it's real simple. We have a changeover in momentum on chart 2, and now it's a fight on chart 2 between bias and momentum. So earlier today, if people were on, we talked about always expecting an overshoot. So you'll notice my position, I have 10 more lots, 15 more lots here. That's expecting an overshoot of the RDA on chart 2 and expecting the RDA to actually hold up relatively quickly. But then also realizing that on chart 2, we have the same type of thing we just talked about, which is a fight between now momentum and bias.
Order filled.
Because momentum has shifted on chart 2 and price is still trying to maintain the bias of that chart. So we're really in the midst of a fight, and the answer is real simple. Sorry, I gotta take this real quick.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
Okay, I'm back. Apologize. Had to take a quick phone call. I get treatment tomorrow, so I just wanted to confirm my treatment and understand it. Usually I remember, but I completely forgot what it was. So I did enter here. I'm using chart 4 as kind of as a control for a momentum check. Same with chart 1 as an auxiliary momentum check. So remember what I said before, which is, look, it's a fight between bias and momentum. So my entry or my stop loss on the NQ with 50 lots is barely above my entry. So, you know, technically I'll cover fees and not make much on this trade. If it comes out, it can take me out. Now it might take me out. I might just enter again just because it might just come down and knock me out just because it's the volatility of the market. We are hitting the last hour of the market. We're going into pivot 2 in the afternoon. And we're in the midst of a fight on chart 4 and chart 1 between momentum and bias. And we'll know in the next 15 minutes, most likely, which one's going to win. Is momentum going to win out, or is bias going to hold? And you'll look back on the day and say, shoot, why didn't I short the RDA? It was so obvious. But like a typical idiot, I'm fading the market. I say that tongue in cheek because I still think it's probably the more probable trade maybe here. But in reality, I probably should have been trading with the bias of the market, the first check of the RDA, because I would have already been in profit now. And now I'm going to be taken out of this fade trade and have to re-enter the market.
Stop filled.
There we go. Taken out of the fade trade. Made about $1,000 on that trade. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Now I have to just decide, okay, I'm out. What do I do? We've got a level very clear here, which is on chart 4 as well, which is right around 351. So do we wait for that to get tapped? Or do we go back in long? Or do we go short?
Order filled.
This is Skywalker.
Yep.
I went short at 362 spot 75.
Great trade.
And I'm looking at C2. Every bounce that came back and touched the M9 bounced back down and continues its momentum bias short, and momentum is to be recaptured, also going short. And that's kind of what I see at the moment.
Yeah, I think your trade is better than what I was doing. Well, I know it's better than what I was doing. So, but that was also, the other thing I probably should have mentioned is that you could make an argument now that if it continues to sell off, chart 3 would look like it almost tapped the fast momentum if it continues down this downward slope. So that's something I should have probably took into consideration. As it pulled back, I probably should have maybe reversed or took some profit off to maximize some of that trade and shorted with you, especially as the RDA on two charts, chart 1 and chart 4, continued to not be breached. Oh, but your trade's spot on. It's a great trade.
But also, I was looking at the daily,
Mhm.
and daily also breached the M9
Yep.
and touched M24. So the intention is so far to continue going down to M24, I think.
Yeah, we mentioned that
Do you wanna
earlier.
see
I don't know if you were on earlier. That's one of the things we said from a daily perspective is what it looks like, right? If it continues down, your next downward target, M24, aligns with also, if you look at that green candle to the left, that's at a key level of that green candle as well, the M24. So it's a perfect area for it to actually find in air quote support, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to get I'm already in 5 lots. I'm trying to join you but I'm waiting for a pullback up to momentum and bias on chart 2 to short it. But, one thing, we do have a strong level here that was traded at 348 spot 25 on chart 1. So I would expect a reaction here as it gets closer to the 348, which it already did to the upside. And it's also at a time in the market where the market can stall and fake out and do a couple fake outs on both sides of the market. It's at that last it's pivot. For those that don't know, I mark pivot time 2 in the afternoon at exactly 15:08 to 15:15 market time. There's a specific reason why it's 15:08 is because since I've been trading since 2016, I've noticed during the cash market at 15:08 to 15:15, there's another pivot in the market, but it's often a pivot that's not as reliable as the first pivot that happens an hour ago. It's a pivot that what happens is it fakes out both sides of the market. But then in hindsight, it looks obvious. The obvious pivot here would be, well, of course, it came down and tested the lower end of that value range that it developed over the course of 2 hours in the afternoon. And then it held that level multiple times. So what you're looking for now here on the long side, if you wanted to fade this move, is the clear level that developed in chart 1 and chart 4 is holding. And the longer that level holds, that value range low holds, the higher probability that it probably has another upside test that it wants to do before it rolls over. If it loses that level and retests that level, then there's a higher probability that the daily might be in control, which is down to the M24. Or at a minimum, if you use chart 3 and you say, what's the strongest level on chart 3? Well, we're looking at 327. So 327 is another area where you could expect maybe some long support as well. So it has to get through that before it even gets to the M24 in the daily. All that cleared everybody in the room?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So for those that are on TradingView and Discord, or TradingView and YouTube, one of the best things you can do is follow on Discord. You'll see a link in the description and down below. Great place to ask questions. In fact, today we're asking questions. We have a podcast called Always
Order
In,
filled.
and we've got 4 topics that people have requested. You can join Discord and share what's your biggest trade challenge right now,
Order filled.
and we'll answer it on the podcast, or maybe we'll do a training video on it. So we've got 4 questions right now. The first question is the first question that we've had
Order
that we
filled.
let's see where we're at. So this is where, like I said, you can really churn your account here by not trading with conviction. So right now I have to decide, do I stick with this short or do I play the fade card? Right now I'm going to stick with this short and I'm going to put my stops real tight. There's going to be trailing stops just above that high. And then I'm either going to be taken out at a loss, which then once again I'm taken out on volatility.
Stop filled.
The challenge is it's my entry is not at a great entry for a continuation unless the highs, if the highs don't get breached, it's actually this level here. So where all my stops are is basically above that level on chart 2. So as long as that level doesn't get breached, then the sell-off looks good. But if that level gets breached, I'm probably on the wrong side of this trade. But at the same time, it could just, through volatility, just play in this range between really 376 and what would be 359. It could spend the next 10 minutes here in a frustrating range. So if you don't choose a direction and a conviction on direction, then you're just churning your account. Part of me sees the long side and wants me to, and I want to reverse, but I'm trading with that. My thesis of this trade is that it lost momentum on chart 1 and it will continue to react down from the RDA test on chart 4 and chart 1. But where my stops are, if those get hit, then either I reverse before that, or that's really where my stops need to be. But I might still get hit out on volatility just because the market we're really at a middle of a range. You don't have edge when you're trading at a middle of a range. So my entry is at a middle of a range. It's not the best entry. But I am trading with momentum and bias of the market on my chart. So here's a question so far that we got for the podcast, for the show. Rules for trading in a sideways market. That's one topic. Futures talk, when to go from micro to mini. So we'll talk about how to go from trading the micros to the mini. And then we got another question here, how to capture big moves and stick with the trade. We'll talk about the philosophy and how to specifically do that. And then the fourth question we have is range versus tick versus time, philosophy of the bar. So we'll talk about what is the power of a range bar, what's the power of a tick bar, and what's the power of a time bar, and why do we consistently say
filled.
that it is a superpower to use tick bars, and where do tick bars excel over range bars, where do tick bars excel over time bars, and when do you want to use either, or do you even want to use range bars or tick bars? I'll give you the answer right now.
Stop filled.
You want to use tick bars.
Order Stop filled. filled.
Yeah, so I'm completely out of that trade.
Order filled.
Yeah, I think my gut reaction that the fade trade was probably the one that makes the most sense here. Might be the right answer, but once again, I'm not quite convinced, but we'll
Order filled.
a participation trade.
Order filled.
And then I'm more convinced that the downside is going to hold at this point than it's going to sell off. And I'm just using from still the same look at chart 3, plus the fact that every time it's had an opportunity to really rip down, the buyers have stepped up. crude oil is in an interesting area too. It's chart 2 has regained momentum and bias, but it's just stalled there. So you'll see I have all of my stops pretty much. I'm in 6 lots there, and all of my stops are pretty much in profit and just waiting for either it to move down or come out and take me out on a spike up.
You said you trade gold a little differently than you trade futures, but you're still just trading with the system. Just like a different mindset you have to go through.
Gold is futures. I guess what? No, I mean I don't trade it with a different. When did I say that? I guess.
Oh, you just said that gold moves in a different way.
No, I meant CL. I meant oil.
Oh, oil.
But no. So gold does move differently too, but so does oil. The way oil moves comparatively, CL moves comparatively to NQ is NQ. And one of the reasons why I like to trade it is because the NQ moves consistently. It very seldom does it stall. But if you look at CL right now, it's stalled between 87.68 and really 87.59. Now, the thing is, with the NQ in a range like that, in a $10 range, you could actually scalp in that $10 range if you play the extremes in the NQ. With oil, because of the tick movement and how it stalls, you can't scalp the same way you can on CL that you can in the NQ. So it's just, well, number one, you've got, you're at 15,000 on the NQ, and then you're at a 4-digit or really a 2-digit on oil. So oil hits. One of the great things about oil is that the system works very well, but oftentimes you have to be much more patient with the trades. So this trade, for instance, that I'm in oil, I'm short. And I've been in this trade waiting for this range to figure out if it's going to sell off or hold momentum and bias on chart 2 since it's been 45 minutes. And it's just stalled. And I've been anywhere between $800 and $1,200 in profit on this position for the last 45 minutes. But when CL oil decides to move, it moves. So if it's going to move, it's going to go from 87.68 on the downside down to 87.32, which is a really good move on oil. But it might not move for another 20 minutes, where the NQ is typically moving a lot in a range during that same time frame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And gold GC does somewhat of the same thing, but GC tends to move a little bit quicker than oil. But it also has the same type of movement. Same with ZB, the bonds. One of the reasons why I trade the NQ above the ES is because ES moves similar to gold sometimes, or and CL. It moves, it stalls and then it jumps. Where I find the NQ and the MNQ movement to be much more smooth. It's much more smoother of a movement, and it doesn't jerk in price. But I could just say I'm never going to trade the NQ again and just trade the ES and trade the ES, and we'd be just as successful.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
I thought I turned down the volume of you, man. I went long, or I added to long on the NQ. I should have reversed back when I was talking about it because I felt it. I have a Darth Vader voice on here. Luke, I'm your father. So the same narrative is playing out what we talked about before, which is really a fight between momentum and bias on chart 1 and chart 4. With the minor difference of now you have chart 2 that is switched over momentum and bias and is holding it. And it's messing around with the opening range low, as well as that's the next target and the RDA. So I think, once again, fade trade probably is the higher probability trade based on the story of the chart. And if you're looking to short, you're going to be shorting somewhere on a chart 3 control. Somewhere around above 400 is what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if on chart 2 price would hold above bias, and it did. So I decided to stay in my long position.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. I saw those retests. Just figured might as well just get in.
Yep. True that. Hey, Banger. Good afternoon. Good to see you here on YouTube's.
Hey, what's up, Banger? Banger's been doing really well too. You see, he's trying to get his I forget what it is.
He's going to take his earnings and put it in a depreciating asset, though, which is fine. You gotta have fun.
Well, and he's overseas, man. He can get all the cool whips.
No, he's back here now.
Oh,
He's back in Chai. But yeah, he is
yeah,
overseas.
gated manual Gallardo. That's what he wants. I think it's clean. I'll pull one up. See if...
The Trackhawk here locally of what I would have wanted sold already. This little bastard sold it. Hey, did you bring Rex? Oh, there he is. All right. Hey, Rex, you doing all right, buddy? He's just chilling. Yeah, back in the Chai
Order
town.
filled.
Well, now I'm going to commit to the long. I'm going to call the bluff that it's going to sell off here. I might regret it here. My entries are at the extremes of chart 2. RDA extremes. Extreme. Black dynamite. I sell drugs in the community.
Order filled.
There we go. Got picked up on the first entry here. This is probably an aggressive fade because once again, I'm arguing with the chart. Let's see if I'll regret it. The last line in the sand for this trade would be right around 352. So it better move pretty quick if it hits down to that level. Nice monitor. All right, bet. Got that up on order. What?
Order filled.
My basis on this trade is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Once again, trading against momentum and bias is not the best thing to be doing. I can say that in real time why the trade is unfolding. I think the question I'll have here is the market going to give me an opportunity to get out or even make a little bit of profit here? And are we pushing it based on time frame of time in the market? All right.
Order filled.
I reversed. No more playing around with that long. We'll see if I regret it though. My thesis is the index might hold that M9. And it's real simple. Price should not close above the bias and momentum on chart 2 for this trade to be. Otherwise, I just made two trades that were not conviction trades in a row. Still up for the day. 16,000, but I haven't got to focus on trading today, really. We've been doing other stuff, planning, working on stuff. I've had trade opens, but I just haven't. I've been sitting on trades
Order
instead of
filled.
maximizing the profits.
Order filled. Order filled.
Yeah, this is going to make me wish I was on the other side of this, isn't it? We'll see. So that limiter actually is cutting my volume off way too much. All right, here's the final line in the sand. Needs to sell out here or not.
Order filled.
And looks like CL might be making the break for the downside. So I do have to look at risk on that. Meaning, is CL going to move down and NQ going to move up? or are they going to correlate down? Sorry, I wasn't showing my trades. My bad. The new level is 367 spot 50. As long as it stays below that, then it's probably going to sell off on the NQ. Closes above that and holds, then it's probably going to go up and test the upside. Trading deep into close. I probably want to get out of this trade here shortly unless I see some movement. Just, yeah, see. All right, there we go. A little bit pop above. Now it's going to test. No definitive answer yet. I agree. NQ is probably in a no trade zone. I do need to probably put in trailing stops and let the trade work out or get out. The market's going to give me an opportunity here to break even. I need to make a decision. Do I get out or do I stick with this short trade? Right now, sticking with the short trade.
No RSI is firing either.
Oh, what?
RSI.
Oh, yeah. True that. Hmm. 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 Some people really like the Scarlet Solo. See that? Yeah.
Order filled.
I reversed long, by the way, in case no one picked that up. I should look at my list and see what I have on here. documentation on the long side here, and the short side on CL. I don't understand the Streamer X and what the use case is there. I don't get it. So for anybody that's not joined Discord and you're watching on TradingView or on YouTube, you want to join Discord. Also, you can join and request a topic for us to cover on the podcast. We're a fairly new podcast called Always In, the trade of trading for traders. It is really a conversation between my nephew and me, but we also get deep into what it takes to become a successful trader. We've got 4. We didn't ask kind of everybody or anybody that wanted to answer what's your biggest challenge, and then we would do an episode on it or combine questions in an episode. We got 4 shows or 4 questions from that, and then if you do have any question around trading, this doesn't have to be on our system. It can be on any trading philosophy questions, anything else like that. Doesn't look like it's going to go up long, but once again, we're trading deep into the open. For those that I've said this many times before, I used to trade the close in the open, so I have quite a bit of experience trading this. You do have to be a little mindful of. I mean, I'm barely in profit here, so I probably should put some trailing stops in profit just so I don't get why go into a loss at this point in time. And let's just see if it rips up. Or does it come out and take us out at a minimal gain? We are still waiting for the CL trade to actually work out in our favor.
Are you long or short for CL?
Short.
Okay.
Oompa Loompa short. Not really Oompa Loompa, that'd be way up.
And you think it's going to break this range and then...
I'm looking for an RDA test to chart 4, which is right around 87 spot 22. Deuce.
Which chart?
Chart 4 and CL.
Okay.
You know, there's a micro CL, which is I don't know what it's called. I can't think right now. You could trade oil, you can trade black gold on a micro level as well.
Really?
Yep. So instead of, it's the same. I mean, it's a little bit more than I think I should know this stuff. I just don't. Some stuff I just don't care to memorize.
Yeah.
I can look it up.
Well, you have so much damn information in your head.
Knowledge. Yeah.
So the ES is S&P?
Yeah. ES is the mini, the MES is the micro. I'm getting that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference between like mini and micro?
Well, the tick size, the size of capital required to trade it, the dollar amount movement, all it is scaled down by, I mean, you can do the calculations, but.
Well, is like micro bigger than mini?
Yeah. No, the micro's the micro. The mini is the mini. I mean, mini is bigger than the micro. And then there's which I should be trading. I just don't, because if I traded the typical, well, I do have to get some unique disclosures, but
Stop field.
there's something above the mini that you can trade. Capital wise, I can trade it. It would put me too far out of touch of what people are
Order
trading.
filled. Order filled. Order filled.
So there's bigger, like the big dogs trade higher level. There's something above the mini is what I'm saying. The reason why it's called the mini is because, not because there's a maxi, it's because there is something above the mini. And then I think, well, the argument was that they wanted to provide exposure for smaller traders. So then they started introducing the micro. Really, it was just so that they could start making fees on,
Everywhere.
yeah, traders with lower capital. I mean, there is some hedging aspects that you could, but most of the trading done in the futures market, I would say, is speculative. I don't think, I don't know. My gut tells me most of it is speculative on the micros, and it's not hedged. That's what my gut tells me, but I could be wrong. I haven't really looked at the numbers.
You trading Bitcoin right now at all?
Well, I'm always trading Bitcoin, but I mean, as far as like, it hasn't hit any of my zones for purchase. I mean, if we look at it,
Oh, so that's how you trade Bitcoin? You just
Yeah, I
wait for it to
swing
hit a
trade it.
certain range and buy the pullback?
oh yeah, I'm waiting for below 20,000, and then I'll buy. And I'll buy both on a stacking aspect, and then I'll also buy on a swing trade aspect.
Hmm.
You know, here in the United States, where we're located, it's increasingly more difficult to actually. Well, there is Bitcoin futures, but
I saw that.
I just don't care to trade them. I already trade enough. I don't need to. You know, if I could trade on a crypto exchange, the futures, then I would trade futures more on crypto. But I don't really see the need to add Bitcoin to the mix. But I guess I could probably trade the same type of swing trades that I do futures wise that I do in spot. I guess I should probably add that to the mix. There's only so much time in a day. There does only seem to be 24 hours. I haven't figured out how to exceed that yet.
One of my buddies right now is trying to learn how to trade options, but he's never traded before. You think it's like something you should start learning, or where do you think you should start trading futures? That's what I think. That's what I've been trying to tell him.
You know, options is a good way to start. Options. I mean, there's just options are more complex, but for some people, options make sense. For some people like. Also, the margin requirements, you can really trade with margin in a couple unique ways with options. So yeah, option trading is not. I think it's a good place to start.
And options is pretty predictive in nature, right? That's
What do
kind of how
mean
you
by
have to
predictive?
trade it. I know very minimal about options, but isn't it where before a certain date you believe that price is going to that price will go up or down from there
Yeah,
to a certain date, and then
the challenge with options is that it's such a specific topic into itself that you just can't have a quick 2-minute conversation about it.
no. Well, maybe
So-
that'd be something cool. We could maybe do a video on.
Yeah, I mean, I used to trade options a lot more than I do now, but I did strictly butterflies, covered calls. I did kind of locked in my profit, but then limited my risk. And actually, that's an easy. I had a stock fetcher. Basically, I have a stock fetcher scan that I would trade 20
Stop
different
field.
option chains on, and whenever like 1 out of the 20 every 2 days would hit the signal to trade, and then I would just go in there, look at and then figure out how far out in the money or out of the money I wanted to trade. I mean, like I said, options in itself is like a 10-minute
Order filled.
introduction conversation, and then you're confused.
Mhm.
And then it's another half hour to get you unconfused. So explaining options and teaching options is just not a. But you've met one of the family here, and he started with options, and
Order filled.
he didn't have any experience with trading whatsoever. He just started trading on Robinhood and Webull with options and started doing really well, but then gave it all back. So
Oh,
he got a little too aggressive, but which I was telling him, hey, start to learn to read charts, and then you'll be able to not, actually maintain some of that capital. So he was up pretty bigly, and then he gave it all back.
that's gotta hurt.
Yeah. But there's some people that all they do is trade options.
I've watched a couple streamers who talk about options that are trading it. I just like futures is so easy.
Well, futures is the most straightforward, low capital intensive way to trade, in my opinion, day trading. So options, that there is power in options that you can trade options with a smaller amount of capital as well, and control a large position size. So why people like options is because there is an opportunity to leverage your capital a lot more than futures, especially if you get good at it. But it's a multi-dimensional trading style. You have to understand expiration, you have to understand the Greek, you have to understand, plus you could just do naked options, you could do butterflies, there's probably about 12 different core option strategies you can trade. You got to understand concepts of in the money. You got to understand probability.
Isn't there some math that goes into options too?
That's all the Greeks. So all the Greeks are probability. Well, not all of them, but most of them are probability based in math. And in fact, one of the things I used to do is, and this came from a trader called Theo Trade, is that you can look at the NQ, and the NQ options chain will, on Friday every week, when the markets close, then the options market will produce on the NQ what's called the expected move. And the expected move, I'm going to get out of this trade. The expected move
Order filled.
is how you can, on Friday, you can see what the options market says the expected move of the NQ will be next week. And you can then trade those options. Yeah, compound options, and options. Yeah. And so so I used to use the
Order filled.
expected move of the NQ in my trading to say that, hey, the expected move of the options, because it actually is it does play a big role in the market, and you'll see it time and time again. The market will come up on Thursday and be high above the expected move. So let's say that the expected move for this week, we could look this up, but let's say the expected move for this day or this week on the options market for the NQ was 15.430. I've seen this happen time and time again, where tomorrow, it's Thursday, right? Tomorrow's Thursday. It will maybe trade all the way up to like 640. And then Friday, it will sell off and close right at the expected move, or right near the expected move, so that those people that bought options are out of the money or in the money. It is if you wanted to use it, it is a additional indicator you can use to give you edge. But what I also realized in using that is that I didn't need it, because all I had to do is actually trade the charts, and I was trading what the market was doing with the expected move anyways. So, I'm further of the opinion that there's, the hidden hand in the market is whether or not it's by all of or the majority of traders having groupthink or whatever else, but the hidden hand in the market actually exists.
Order
So I'm
filled.
of the opinion that
Order
actually
filled.
exists.
Order filled.
So I'm still in CL,
Order filled.
and we'll see if the NQ is actually going to move up. But why was I showing Bitcoin? Sorry. 1 second here. I don't know. I'm tempted to go flat
Order
here
filled.
on the NQ, or not the NQ, but CL, just because it's not moving. But I'll give it an opportunity to sell off here before the market closes in 8 minutes. There is a quick scalp that could be maybe had here on the NQ, maybe
Order filled.
upward move. So I'll get into 5 lots here, 10
Order
lots
filled.
here. And let's see if it's going to impulse up. It hit the RDA, bounced off the RDA. So now is it going to go up and close at the highs? Do a test right around 405 or
filled.
something. Not going to give it a lot of room though.
Order filled.
It's probably too volatile for this type of move here right now.
Order filled.
There we go. See, they're going to make it or not. Last 7 minutes of the market. It's probably going to range out here. Probably should just get out. So, for those that are not following, you want to follow on Discord. So, see a link down below. If you are ready to become an alpha, just DM me and say, how do I become an alpha? How do I join one of the best speculation trade systems on the planet? Rex Dog Trade System. Really inspired by the little dog Rex. We do have a video coming out today of a series of questions. Hey Banger says, hey Rex, I have a quick question regarding what I really should do with my profit withdrawals, if you don't mind. Well, I mean, you're young. I think that, so the philosophy of day traders, when you're a day trader, comes down to this. This isn't financial advice, by the way, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the philosophy of day traders is that you should take your day trading money and you should then put that into more appreciative assets, because your day trading money is kind of your bread and butter. And so generally what you see day traders doing, and I do this too, is that they take, you do scale up your day trading, but then sometimes it makes sense. A lot of times it makes sense to then take a portion of that capital and then put it into assets that, like real estate or other assets that are more of a portfolio asset. I kind of divvy it up and do equity trading, and I do other trading, Forex trading, and also portfolio assets. So generally what you want to do is take the capital you'll make and decide how much do you want to allocate for risk and trading for a baseline in the futures market, and then find other vehicles to put your money at work that work for you long term. Ideally, what you want to do is, this is where you really can, either you have to figure it out yourself, you have to talk to a financial advisor that understands some of this aspect, but you want to set yourself up where basically you're taking the capital you're making in day trading, you're paying the least amount of tax, and then you're putting that into capital growth instruments that you can borrow against and you can live on. Ideally, that's what you want to do. That's real estate. That is a portfolio. That is, cash value, life insurance, stuff like that. If you do it correctly, could be trust, could be various other things. I think what you're also doing too is you're going out there and buying a car, or you want to like buy. I think there is. I wouldn't dissuade anybody from actually going out there and actually getting something where they can enjoy life. Because look, I know it firsthand. Life is too short, and you're not meant to die with your money. Really, I mean, you can, but you're the one that actually made it. Shouldn't you be the one that actually enjoys it? So, you really should look at it from that aspect. So there is an aspect of it where you can be so focused on growing your capital that you're not focused on actually going out there and saying, hey, I've got a little bit of a cushion here. Why don't I actually go and not go crazy, but why don't I go and get something that I can enjoy every day, like a car? Like maybe you actually want, I'm not talking about a Lambo or something, just a car that you would enjoy driving all the time, and then you build up to that and you go out and get that. But you just think, how does that play into your overall happiness of your life on a daily basis? So I'm not opposed to that, but I think you should first build a base, a foundation. To me, the best thing you can do is to make it so that you have a long enough runway to survive as possible without having to get a job. That's the first thing you should focus on. That way,
Stop field.
because, freedom of your time is underappreciated. The younger that you can get freedom of your time, meaning that your ability to choose what you do when and how you structure your daily time is one of the most valuable things you could do for your life at any age. The quicker that you get to that at a younger age, the more happy you will be throughout life. So to me, that's what I always implore to younger people is that, hey, set up, number one, if you're younger, you have the benefit of compounding effect. But number two, set up your life so you basically don't have to answer to anybody but yourself, and you control what you do when. Now, you might not be living the life of luxury, but as time moves on and as you grow skills and as you build your capital and your wealth, your power over your time and what you do and who controls your time, you want it to be in your hands as much as possible, because that's the only thing of value in this world. I mean, yeah, money is value, money is power, but money with no time is really not power. If you have to get up, if you have, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but if you have living expenses where you don't have a choice but get up tomorrow and put time in to work, to survive and eat,
Stop field.
and for your family to eat, you're really not free. So that's what I would suggest once you get to that first hump of, hey, profitability and everything else, is like, how do I start structuring my life so that I control my time and no one else can tell me what to do when I don't want to do it? I have no master over me.
Stop field.
I know master nowadays
Stop
isn't a good term, but you have no master over your time, over your life. That's what I would suggest you do.
Stop field.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, putting in an interest rate or trade options with it, I guess that this is such a situational thing, but the philosophy of what I would share is what I would do, what I wish I would have been doing earlier in life too, which is like, how do I set up my life so I'm not working in a business and I have as long of a runway to basically control my time. If I get up tomorrow, so for instance, I can get up tomorrow and say, I could grab Rex and say, Rex, we're going to just go hang out and we're going to go test out the new breweries that just opened up this year. And Rex and I can go and test out the new breweries that just opened up. And I can just get up and do that. I can do that for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's what I mean by the power of your time. I'd get bored after a while. Plus, I don't know how much Rex can hold his alcohol. We've never really tested him in that route. I think Rex is a lightweight. Who knows? He could probably maybe drink me underneath the table.
No, he probably It probably goes down.
He probably does. Yeah. So, you know, the advantage you have is you have youth on your side. So the other thing I would suggest you do is set up your life so that you live on 50%. Whatever you make, live on 50% of that. So if you make, let's say you made $5,000 a month or whatever, after taxes, let's just say after taxes, just to make the number simple, set up your life that you never exceed more than $2,500 for your basic needs. If it's $2,000, set up your life where it's $1,000. That earlier in life that you can live below 50% of your reliable income, and then put the rest of that capital to work in safe capital protective assets that you could borrow against, so that you're going to have a compounding effect. And yeah, you're going to have to struggle. There might be times where, you know, it's tough, but put it this way, if you started that in your mid 20s, you're going to be in the top 1%. By your 30, you're going to be in the top 1% of people, of everybody you know, if you started doing that the second you got out of college, or even in college. You would be so far above most of your peers that on multi levels, just a financial level though, you would be setting yourself up for a compounding effect that as each 5 years go by, you're getting to a new plateau of capital wealth and capital growth that most people that you know in life, 95% of them, could only dream of. And it just takes a little bit of sacrifice early on in your mid 20s. So, you know, which is hard to do, especially when you're a dude and you're trying to, you know, maybe go see chicks and go out and do everything else. But, you know, it is doable. All right. Well, yeah, all good. So we're going to call it a day. I think we will be streaming tomorrow. If you haven't joined Discord and you're watching here on TradingView or YouTube, join Discord. Anybody else in the actual trading room have questions before we go? I want to make sure I answer your questions. Any other questions? Otherwise, I appreciate everybody showing up, being in the room and on the streams. It's been awesome once again.
And we're getting everything set up around here too, so we should have the both audios and mics and everything set up where we can both be talking in the room eventually.
Yep. True that. And now that we've got 5 or 6 topics here on podcast shows, we either combine them in one show, like 1 or 2 of them, or we'll all just do shorter shows and just keep them as self-contained topics. We'll actually go out there and bullet point, or, you know, answer the question, and we'll start recording those tomorrow, and we'll just start releasing them. So one of the things about our podcast is that we want to make it so that we can just kind of release content. We kind of stuck to a weekly schedule here just to kind of ease into it, but we want to be able to just kind of release content where it makes sense. Still at least once a week, but maybe do 1 or 2 shows a week. They're maybe 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long, but reinforcing the concepts and good trading consistently. That's really the focus of that. All right. I appreciate everybody. Everybody have a great rest of the day, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. We'll be around a little bit here and there, just looking at the market. Probably look at Bitcoin. Probably do need to do a Bitcoin update this week. Just kind of look and see where it's at. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you in the next stream.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.